Yeah.
And I'm here with my partner in crime, Shane.
Hello.
All right. And today's episode is
Creepy dolls.
we wanted to do something because it's like holiday season time is beginning and lots of social events, hopefully, and family
Yeah.
gatherings, which sometimes isn't fun. So
Yeah.
we wanted to look at mannequins and other weird things that are not humans
Yes.
to get everyone
Yeah.
mentally prepared
Yeah.
to want to hang out. And I dug up some accounts.
All right.
Do you want me to dive in?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to start with the Corpse Bride of Mexico. There's a creepy mannequin in a shop that's on display in the shop window and has been on display since 1930 in Chihuahua, Mexico. And local legend says it isn't a mannequin, but the perfectly preserved corpse of the shop owner's daughter, who was bitten by a black widow spider hours before her wedding.
Oh, wow.
I know, right? The owner said the object had been made to honor her dead daughter, but locals believe otherwise. And the husband of the shop owner says the mannequin would talk back to him, and locals even reported seeing him dance with the mannequin. And they report that the eyes follow you, and that the hands are very realistic, and that the legs even have varicose veins.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it's a really well-known mannequin in Mexico. And if you look it up, the Corpse Bride of Mexico, you'll see it, and creepy.
Cool. Yeah, I've never heard about that.
That's the one I started with. And then the John Lawson House in New York, which was built in 1845. It's an abandoned house that has a group of female mannequins that sit on the porch.
Oh, wow.
All right. And they're known to, as far as anyone knows, no one lives in the house.
Yeah.
But the mannequins are on the porch, and they're known to mysteriously change position, clothes, and even their hairstyles sometimes. And
Wow.
sometimes the number of mannequins that are sitting on the porch will change. They have creepy objects. Often they're holding creepy objects like mirrors, towels, empty bird cages. And on rainy days, they're not out there.
Oh, wow.
But it's an abandoned house, and nobody knows who does that.
Yeah.
Actually, that person's probably really cool, right?
Yeah.
Like fucking with the whole town.
Oh,
It's bizarre, right?
made me just think of something. I read Frank Zappa's autobiography when I was a teenager,
Uh-huh.
and he talks about a friend of his who was like this older speed freak.
Uh-huh.
And you would go over there, and it was literally like a loft full of mannequins in various stages of undress. how bizarre it was. Like these were his friends, you know. He had like entered into amphetamine psychosis and had a
God.
like apartment full of female mannequins. he,
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck at that friend's house, or
yeah,
like
yeah.
that's crazy. And then McCurdy's mummy. That this one popped in my head as I was like reading about the other stuff. Like I'm like, what? I remembered it.
Yeah.
A mummy ended up in a California fun park haunted house, and in 1976, $6 Million Man, the TV show, shot on location at the amusement park. It's the Pike Amusement Park in Long Beach. While they were at, getting everything set up, one of the employees noticed a mannequin hanging in the corner, like from a noose, a mannequin hanging, and he wanted to get that out of the way. So he went to pull it down, and the arm broke off, and he noticed that it didn't seem to be a mannequin because he noticed bone.
Oh my God.
And it turns out that it's the body of Elmer McCurdy, an outlaw who died in a gunfight in 1911.
Yeah.
And no one claimed his body. So the undertaker embalmed him and allowed visitors to view the preserved corpse for a nickel. To kind of show up the skill, right?
Yeah.
But then the body was purchased by a carnival. And then I guess from that point, it got passed around through the years until it was forgotten that it was actually a body and not a prop, right?
Yeah.
And it ended up in that fun house, that haunted house, for who knows how long, until somebody accidentally broke the arm off. So,
oh wow,
that's crazy,
that's
right?
great. I think as morbid as that is, I'm so sad that we don't have amusements like that to go to anymore.
I know, what were we talking about the other night when we were talking about like some of the stuff that I gathered or whatever?
Yeah.
Said the Bigfoot body.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think we found it, and I forgot to print it or.
Yeah, it's the I've come across it a couple of times over the years, but in a nutshell,
right.
This guy who ran a carnival freak show type thing somehow acquired a frozen body of a Bigfoot.
Right.
But they didn't call it a Bigfoot. They called it the Iceman or something.
Right.
And,
yes.
Yeah. And the story is that a paranormal investigator actually went and saw it and was blown away by it, and wanted to go see it again, and took another researcher or a friend or something, and they went back, and the original body was gone.
Yep, it was already
and they
gone.
were hush hush about it, so who knows? But yeah, we should go deeper into that one.
Yes, that one will be back at another point. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll talk about ice or something frozen.
Yeah, for the
have better information.
Yeah.
And then I found 2 accounts that aren't mannequins, but they're just weird and not human. And your normal. So I just threw them in for fun. Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
This one is took place in Corona, California, near Corona,
I used to
California.
live there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
In 1964, in springtime at night. And here's what it says. On a warm night, teenagers Dave Wilson and Tom McKelvey had decided to take a shortcut through the lemon groves above Corona. They were late for an engagement. There was a full moon out, and they were going along at a pretty good clip when Dave thought he saw something ahead of them and brought the truck to a stop. The two climbed out, and as the dust settled around them, flashing the spotlight in a wide arc through the trees, they noticed movement and aimed the light in the area about 75 feet in front of them. Then, to their utter shock, a huge figure covered with shaggy gray hair emerged from the trees. It must have been 9 feet tall, Dave later said. It had a scarecrow head, really round. It had no neck and really gaping, bulging eyes. Its front teeth pointed outward, and it had what looked like claws. The creature made a metallic screech and seemed to lurch to one side and then came straight at them. The teenagers scrambled back into their vehicle, rammed it into reverse, and peeled out, coming to a spinning stop some 70 yards away. Glancing in the rearview mirror, Dave saw the creature, eyes bulging, still coming fast. It extended a long arm and reached for the tailgate of the pickup. Dave yelled, "It's on us," and slammed down the gas pedal, disappearing into the night at breakneck speed. The next day, Dave, Tom, and another friend returned to the scene to look around. They knew that without any evidence to support their outrageous claims, no one would believe their story. The three men found a single large footprint pressed an inch deep into the ground. It was 18 inches long by 7 inches wide and showed very clearly 3 large, slightly pointed toes. A year later, when Dave, along with another friend, saw the same creature on a dirt road just south of Chase Drive in the lemon groves, it had a pushed-in nose and clawed hands. Dave immediately reported to the authorities. It had also left an area permeated with a pungent odor like dead animals. The vicinity seemed to be a hotbed of both UFO and creature activity, and Henry Leppert, a reporter for the Corona Daily Independent, began running a string of articles about the high strangeness going on in the lemon groves.
Oh, wow.
Right, we have to look that up.
So cool. Yeah.
This continued until one day 2 policemen paid him a visit. Afterwards, he was down on the whole business and wrote no more about any of it. But the activity continued. One family awoke to find their rabbits, once kept in a backyard cage, slaughtered. There was a perfectly round hole in the locked door of the rabbit cage, with fine hair about 6 inches long sticking from the wire. There was no blood to be found, dried or otherwise, but a large print was found in the soft dirt by the back door of the house. It was 15 inches long and showed 4 toes. One witness had noticed a foul odor, he said, like rotten eggs, while he was in the yard. And that was from the Inhumers that can't exist by
B.M. Nunnally.
That's a good one, right?
That's so good. Let's see. We've got no neck, metallic voice.
Yep. 3 toes or
Yeah.
4 toes.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's fascinating. And yeah, I would hear when I lived there, I would hear a lot of stories about those lemon groves because that whole area, Riverside County, Corona, all that it's just covered with groves. And yeah, there was here and there I'd hear stories about monsters in the groves and stuff. That's a good one. I like
Right.
that.
And I kind of want to look that up, that the person, the reporter wrote a bunch of articles. That would be fun to find.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting that he was discouraged from continuing.
Yes. Wow. That's great.
All right. And I have one more from Brad Steiger, Alien Meetings, which is a new book I purchased, and it's pretty nice.
All right.
All right. This is from Alien Meetings by Brad Steiger. Okay. And it's called Strangers at the Side of the Road. It was about 10:45 Eastern time on March 20th, 1967, when a man dubbed Mr. Ribble by Robert A. Schmidt, the then secretary of the Pittsburgh UFO Research Institute, asked his daughter Jean to accompany him in the family Volkswagen to the outskirts of Butler, Pennsylvania, in the hope of glimpsing some unusual aerial light phenomena that he had been observing. Since they lived only a mile away from a private airfield, Ribble felt rather strongly about his ability to distinguish conventional from unconventional lights in the sky. They parked the Volkswagen on a back road, and after a few minutes' wait, spotted two globes of light. The illuminated objects appeared at first to be two airplanes flying parallel to the highway, toying with the notion of landing on the road. A short time later, they gave the appearance of having done just that. Then, from a distance of about a quarter of a mile away, the vehicles came up the slope towards the Ribbles at a speed of about 80 miles per hour. The Ribbles, who had stepped out of their automobile for a better look at the globes of light, now prepared themselves for what seemed to be an inevitable collision with the two berserk aircraft. The crash never came, but the Ribbles were confronted with an impact to their construct of reality that challenged them and all of us. The lights seemed to transform into a semicircle of 5 figures who stood just a few yards away from the hood of the Ribbles' Volkswagen. Both Ribbles jumped back into the car, and while her father worried over starting the vehicle, Jean got a good look at the humanoids. Schmidt quotes her as describing them in the following manner. They looked like human beings, but their faces were totally devoid of expression. Their eyes, if you could call them such, were horizontal slits. I could not see any irises or pupils, just slits. Their noses were narrow and pointed, not unlike a human nose, and their mouths were slits like the eyes. Jean said the 4 of the figures were about 5 feet 7 inches in height, while the 5th was about 5 feet tall. They all wore a kind of flat-topped cap with blonde hair showing to ear length. The shorter humanoid had hair to the shoulders, which caused Jean to suspect that it might be a woman. All 5 of the beings were dressed alike in sloppy gray-green shirts and trousers. The skin on their faces and hands was rough-looking, resembling scar tissue or skin which had been severely burned. Jean admitted that the semicircle of staring entities gave them the creeps. We heard no noise in connection with either the lights or the figures, she told investigators. When the engine was started, the Ribbles had to reverse and then go forward and around the figures to miss them. Under persistent questioning, trying to ferret out details of the experience that had been forgotten under stress, Jean remembered what may have been a most significant factor. As the lights swiftly approached their car, she heard a chorus of voices in her head, not with her ears. She seemed to have sensed them with her brain. The voices said, "Don't move, don't move, don't move." They kept repeating, "Don't move,"
Ooh.
but they dragged it out like, "Don't move."
Yeah.
When the lights vanished, the voices stopped at once, Jean said. My father didn't hear a thing, and so I thought I was hearing things, but now I'm not too sure. That's a good one, right?
That's really good.
Into a group of figures. Understand that you watch.
Oh, a ton. It
I'm
was
talking
so
about
fun.
movies.
Yes. Actually, I'm going to start it off with some TV shows.
All right.
Okay. These are all episodes and movies having to do with creepy dolls. And I enjoyed all of them except for this first one. That the first one I picked was Kathy's Curse from 1977. And when I was a kid, this movie. Yeah, it fascinated me. It scared the shit out of me. And the first time I ever saw a clip from it, there was a compilation video that was in the horror movie section at your local video stores called Terror on Tape. And what they did was they took clips from lots of different horror movies and just showed you the scariest parts. And I remember the first time I saw that and they showed this one scene from Kathy's Curse, I was horrified. It was just so creepy. This little girl killing people with her doll and this creepy synthesizer music and killing people with her telekinetic powers. I was great. But then as an adult, I go back and watch this piece of shit movie. It was awful.
I knew you were like, I'll definitely watch it. And it didn't.
Yeah, it was so bad. I highly recommend. I don't recommend the movie. I totally recommend watching the trailer on YouTube. About 2 or 3 minutes is all you can really stand of this movie.
That's funny when that happened. You were like, "Oh, I'm definitely watching Kathy's." You know, oh my god.
I know. I was so obsessed with this movie, and but I think this is one of those movies that slides in the Exorcist ripoff subgenre. It's just enough to slide into that ripoff. The plot is this little girl, Kathy, her family moves into this house, and a little girl who had died 30 years before, she finds her doll in the attic, and the doll is possessed with the soul of this little girl, so it possesses Kathy. And with this doll now, not only is she evil, but she has supernatural powers, and she pretty much just wreaks havoc on every adult around, killing people and torturing people. In theory, it should be great, but it's just.
And it was great when you were a kid.
Oh yeah, but yeah.
Now you're like,
it's not good. But there's certain scenes in it that are really good, you know. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so that was a bummer. I liked it when I was a kid, but it's just lost its magic for me. But um, oh yeah, I was supposed to start with TV shows. I went with movies anyway. Um, an- Another movie I watched was The Devil's Hand from
Mm-hmm.
1961, and because of this movie, I now have another record in my want list. It it opens
I
up with this. Yeah,
like
oh yeah, opens up with this great song. It's uh, the song is just called "Theme from the Devil's Hand," and it was I can't remember the name of it. I've got it written down somewhere. I'll think of it in a minute. But um, yeah, excellent movie. If if you're into
hello.
beatnik type movies, um, anything like that, you'll love this. It just a great
Uh-huh.
60s horror. And yeah, this guy starts to have visions of, oh yeah, the theme from Devil's Hand was performed by Baker Harris and the Nightmares. So there's a 7-inch of it that's on my want list now. But
Let's.
yeah, great song. But anyway, this guy Rick Turner is waking up in the middle of the night and having visions of this beautiful woman dancing in the clouds, but it's not a dream, it's actually in his room. And
Mm.
yeah, so he eventually um, meets this woman, and she seduces him, and he's actually engaged at the time, and she's a witch, so she puts her power to put this chick in the hospital while she works on Rick. And so she gets him in her clutches, and is like, oh, by the way, we're gonna join this satanic cult. And Rick's like,
Yes.
okay. so, so they join this cult. It's they worship Gamba, which is like some jungle god or something. And
Mm-hmm.
because of this cult and the witchcraft they're doing, um, he starts to become successful. He's making more money. Everything's great. He's got this hot girlfriend he used to dream about, blah, blah, blah. And the cult leader, um, who the guy runs his cult, runs a doll shop. And the way he controls each of the members is he has a doll, a voodoo doll of each member. So he can control them and with those dolls. And that's how they were able to put his fiance in the hospital, was by manipulating this doll. I love it. I highly recommend this movie. It's for free on YouTube.
Nice. All
It got.
right.
I don't understand. I went and read a lot of the reviews on this, and people just call it a boring movie. I thought it was fantastic. I loved it, and I've seen it before. It's one of those movies I can watch over and
Yeah.
over. Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the movies aren't the, you know what I mean? Like, you know,
Yeah.
review wise.
Oh yeah,
Done his
yeah.
watch,
Same.
you know.
Same here. And there's just something about this, the atmosphere, the style of it, it just really meshes with what I like. You know, it's just
Right.
that cool old Hollywood, just good music, good visuals, beautiful women. It's just, I love it. I love
Right.
it. And so yeah, I highly recommend The Devil's Hand, 1961. And another movie I watched was Dolls from 1987. This was a Charles Band production. Charles Band, if you're an 80s horror fan, you definitely know some of his movies.
Right.
He put out a lot of good ones. Puppet Master, Troll, all that stuff. That's all Charles Band.
Okay.
But Dolls is one of the reasons I love 80s horror. It is a perfect horror movie, in my opinion. So the movie starts out, you've got these shitty parents with their little daughter, and they're on a road trip, and they get stuck out in the country and in a storm, so they have to take refuge in this creepy, like, haunted house. Well,
nice.
Yeah, they go in, and there were evidently other people in that same situation, other travelers, and this kind old couple has taken everybody in and said, oh, you guys can stay the night here until you can get back on your way tomorrow. And the old couple are doll makers. They're really eccentric, cool old couple, and the house is packed with handmade dolls. And
creepy.
They're kind of strange, but they're really nice and kind. And everybody except for one of the travelers and the little girl is pretty much a horrible human being.
Right.
So, and that's very important to the story. But I don't want to give too much away. Just see Dolls. It is so good. And it's that moral lesson of be kind, don't be an asshole, be
Are you
kind
to
to strangers. Yeah. And I didn't realize until I was diving into this stuff how much that the theme of not being a cruel parent comes up over and over. It's in a lot of these. It's for one, how important it is to be kind, but also how damaging it can be to be a bad, to be a cruel parent. That theme comes up a lot in these movies, in these doll movies. That was kind of surprising, but yeah. So
I watched half of Lisa and the Devil from.
Yeah.
I can't tell you a whole lot, but the music was really good to start with. Telly Savalas.
Yes.
And I think he's.
Yeah.
And he does carry a doll mannequin.
That's funny.
And then
because I'm sorry, go ahead.
No.
One of my picks is Telly Savalas with a dog.
Really?
Yeah.
What?
Are you sure? Are you done? Oh, okay. Yeah, I picked 3 episodes of great TV shows that had to do with creepy dolls, and
right.
I picked an episode of The Twilight Zone. It's season 5, episode 6, called The Living Doll. And back to the cruel parent theme, Telly Savalas is just a total asshole, and he's a new stepfather. He's just married this woman, and he's taken in her and her young daughter, and
Huh?
you can tell right from the beginning he's not a nice guy. And she comes home with her mom one day, and she has a new doll called Talking Tina. And you pull the string that
Uh-huh.
says, "Hi, I'm Tina, and I love you." And the little girl's just ecstatic. It's the greatest thing ever. And so right away, he is mean to the daughter for some unknown reason. And uh, the daughter and the mom run upstairs, and he holds the doll and looks at it, and the doll says, "I'm Tina, and I don't like you," to Telly Savalas. So
Right.
this doll continues to just torture him mentally and tell him how she's going to kill him, and he's a bad guy, and blah blah blah. So he starts to snap, and yeah, it's great. It's Telly Savalas who
Wow.
I love him. I love every time I see him in something. But yeah, it's the classic Twilight Zone psychological torture. You know.
Nice. And didn't you were telling me? Did
Yeah, this story's gone around for a long time. I think the origin of it was there was a paranormal TV show from Australia in the 70s, and he was interviewed for that. I think that's where this comes from. But yeah, I'll read it for you. This is Telly Savalas' ghost story. One day after dropping off a date in 1958, Telly heads home to his house on Long Island. He runs out of gas. He takes his gas can from his car and goes to a White Castle, the original fast food place, to ask where an all-night gas station is. He is told he has to walk through the woods, so he does so. As he emerges on the other side, a fellow out of nowhere asks him, "Can I give you a ride?" It is a man in a car wearing an all-white suit with a super high-pitched voice. Telly agrees, so they take off toward the gas station. Telly realizes he is broke. The man says, "I can loan you $1." In those days, $1 was worth about $15 to $20 today.
all right.
Telly thanks him and says, "Give me your address so I can send mail you $5." So while Telly is filling up his gas can, the man writes down his name, address, and telephone number on a piece of paper and gives it to Telly. The man drives Telly back to his car. Telly puts the gas in, but they have to push his car to start it. Telly drives off thinking he is definitely going to send the man $5. The next day, he takes the paper and calls the number, thinking he'll just drive to the man's house and drop off the money. But a woman answers and says, "My husband has been dead for over 2 years," and hangs up. Telly does not let it go, but drives to the address on the piece of paper with the $5. The woman answers and lets him in. Shows him a photograph, and yes, that's the man. Turns out over 2 years before, the man had killed himself, shot himself in the throat, which would explain the high-pitched voice. Telly said, "Did your husband have a high-pitched voice?" The woman responded, "No, low pitch, very deep." Telly could not understand why this happened to him. He was not a religious man. He enjoyed women and booze. He could not think of a reason why this had happened to him. Why would a dead man appear driving a real car, loan him a real dollar, and help him like that? He never understood it. So that was a summary of his experience that I found on Reddit. But
that's a good one.
Yeah, I'll put a link to Telly telling it in the show notes. Um,
Awesome. That's a good account.
yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. Another episode. I love the show Kolchak, the Night Stalker. If you guys don't know about Kolchak, Kolchak was the inspiration for the X-Files. And it's about yeah, he was. And yeah, he's just a goofy, hardcore journalist.
I love that kid.
Yeah, Darren McGavin, who's one of the best. And yes, he this episode, I think it was episode 17, and it's oh shit, what's the name of it? The Trevi Collection. And it's really good. All of them are good. But he what it is, there's murders happening in the fashion industry in Chicago. And what it is, one of the models is a witch and is killing off her competition. And the last scene, I don't want to give everything away, but she is able to manipulate the mannequins to attack Kolchak, which is lots of fun. He's got those killer 70s special effects, but it's still creepy. Yeah, it's mannequins and dolls are always creepy.
Always creepy.
Yeah. And another one I picked was the pilot episode of Friday the 13th, the series, which, if you know me, I'm in love with. I love Friday the 13th, the series. And while doing research, I found out that there is a book written about the series called Curious Goods, which was the name of the show in the series. The name of the shop was Curious Goods, which Jack in the show names the shop that in the first episode. And it's written by Elise Wax. And I am so excited to get this book. I just ordered it and am so glad somebody wrote a book about it. I'm totally psyched. Thank you for writing this.
So
is it kind of catalog
like the items from
it's
stuff from the show?
It's everything. It's a
just
history
about the
of the production. Yeah, history of the production, an episode guide, pretty much everything Friday the 13th series, which I love. I'm super psyched to read this. Anyway, the pilot episode, it's, kind of sets the framework for the series. What it is, there's this guy, Louis Vendretti, and he runs an antique shop, and he has sold his soul to the devil. And the show starts out, he's kind of having second thoughts about it, and when you make a pact with the devil, you can't have second thoughts. So he's killed and sent to hell. Anyway, for some weird reason, he has willed the antique shop to his niece and nephew, who he's never met, and they've never met each other.
Right.
So they show up at this antique shop that they've just been given, and um, uh, one of them doesn't want anything to do with it, and they figure, oh, we'll start selling all this stuff off. Well, they start selling all this stuff off, and one of the goods is a doll that a man buys for his daughter, and yeah, and the doll is possessed, and it's Kathy's curse, but in a good way. It's done. It's the same plot. It's done a lot better.
Right,
and,
right.
So yeah, the little girl is possessed, and her and the doll wreak havoc and kill the stepmom, and
Right.
finally, halfway through the episode, they realize that these goods from the antique store are all cursed.
Right.
And they
Right.
find a logbook of each item. So from that point on, the point of the series is to track down all of these items. All of these cursed
Right.
items have to be found. And that's
right.
yeah, and stored in they have a vault. So yeah, that sets the tone right there for the rest of the series, which I love. I think it's awesome. Yeah, they get the doll back. So yeah, and the actress, did you ever see that movie in the late 90s called Go? It was like about rave kids. It's kind of just a movie about teenagers, but there's a lot of drugs and shit in it. It's kind of an okay movie.
Right.
Did you ever see it?
No, I don't.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
The actress in it was Sarah Polley, and that's her. She's the little girl in this, which I thought was
Oh, okay.
But yeah, that's I'm so excited about this book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
good, because that is a really good show.
And you know, she has to be a super fan, because there would be no other reason but pure love to write a book about that series.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
so, yeah.
awesome.
Oh, and I picked a song. One song. Devil Doll by X.
All right.
So I'll put a link to Devil Doll by X in the show notes. Awesome song, awesome.
X. And
really quick, just to throw out
there were other movies, but he's probably thinking of in her head.
Yeah,
we
there's so
didn't
many.
select,
but like for Tourist Trap and Magic.
Yeah.
Many of
Devil. Another mention would be a movie called Devil Doll. It's a British horror movie about a ventriloquist dummy that's alive.
All right.
An evil magician. I like that one, and I'd highly recommend the Mystery Science Theater 3000 episode of that. It's great.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so much good stuff. Just don't torture yourself by watching Kathy's Curse. Just watch the trailer.
Funny, this was the first thing he was like.
He was like, Kathy's Curse.
Yeah.
Oh. I hate when that happens.
I know.
When you're like, I remember this. And then you watch it and you're like, ah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Age or something, maturity.
Yeah.
I don't know, something.
I don't know. I don't know how I ever could have liked it. I think that just the intensity of those handful of creepy scenes.
Clip. Where he
Yeah,
got
those
you.
Yeah.
they just mesmerized me, and I forgot about how bad it was.
Nice.
Buy it, don't like it, send it back. That's a cowbell. Buy it, don't like it, send it back. Poison idea.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, for just a little ending tomorrow because I just thought of how I want to end it.
Yeah, yeah,
Short piece.
Can I call you?
yeah,
Huh? You
yeah.
sure?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
All right, and our one last thing, I found something this time. It's usually you, but this took place, and this always stuck in my head. I can't even remember what show I saw it on when I was younger. Something, I don't know, one of the shows. This took place in Key West in the 30s. There was a man named Carl Tanzler, aka Count Carl Van Kassel. He changed his name to Count Carl Van Kassel. I don't think he was really a count, but he was born in 1877 in Germany, traveled around, settled in Florida. But then settled in Florida where his sister lived and his wife, settled with him and everything. But then he left the family and moved to Key West to take a job by himself, at the U.S. Marine Hospital, and he had an apartment in Key West. All right, so he falls in love with a 19-year-old named Maria Elena Milagro de Hoyos.
How old's the guy?
He's older.
Okay.
I'm not sure. I didn't really read that in the account, but he's not a young guy like her. Okay. He's, married. Somehow his wife may be happy that she's with his sister and he's in Key West in an apartment. I don't know, but so he falls in love with this 19-year-old who came to the hospital. She has tuberculosis. Count Carl was a radiology tech, but he claimed to be a doctor. Like he told all kinds, like he was a doctor, he was this, he was a talker.
Yeah.
He fell in love. It was love at first sight. He thought Elena was his true love, and he kind of convinced them that he was one of the doctors there. And he attempted to treat her tuberculosis with herbs, and he made tonics, and he tried to help her. And he asked her to marry him, and she declined. And on October 25th, 1931, she died. She passed away.
Yeah.
Carl insisted on constructing an above-ground mausoleum, and with the permission of her family, that happened. She was buried in a mausoleum. He visited her grave every night for 2 years. Okay. And he claimed her spirit would serenade him. And one night in April of 1935, he snuck into the cemetery and he removed her body from the mausoleum. He took it home, married her, and slept with his corpse bride beside him for 7 years.
Wow.
And I mean, you can imagine that it was probably a full-time job to kind of keep her body.
Yeah.
Right? And, but lots of perfume. One night, neighbors happened to see through the window and saw him dancing with what they thought was a doll.
Yeah.
Okay. So rumors kind of spread through town. This guy's dancing with a doll up in there. And rumors spread to her family, heard the rumors. Elena's family, Elena's sister. And they went and visited him and found out what was going on. So he was arrested. I don't think he got charged because we talked about this before. Like certain things aren't necessarily a crime.
But especially back then.
Right.
Yeah.
But of course they did take the body from him and return it to the mausoleum or whatever. I think they returned it to the mausoleum, but I'm not quite sure because they took the body from him. And he was so upset that he blew up the mausoleum with dynamite.
Good for him.
All right. So I'm thinking her body wasn't there because her body ended up on display.
Yeah.
At the Dean Lopez Funeral Home, and you could pay $1 to see it. So another body on display. But that always stuck. I saw it on something. I don't know, something when I was young, like I don't know what it was on. I don't know if it was In Search of. I don't know what it was. It was on something, but it always stuck out to me because it was just so crazy.
Yeah, I love it. It's fascinating. It's like, I guess in one sense it's like, God, what love this guy had for her to do that. But then it's like, dude,
it's not,
she's gone.
It's not it's not reality.
Right.
Right.
You've totally worked this fantasy in your mind because what's left is just a shell of rotting flesh. It's like, so yeah, there's a part of me that feels sympathy for the poor fucker, but
Right.
another part that's like, come on, dude, let it go. I mean, not that it's easy at all,
right,
to lose a loved one, but
that's some
don't
extremes,
fuck
right?
her corpse, man. Come on,
Right.
and sleep with it and stuff. It's kind of gross.
Yeah. All right. Right.
All right.
Call anybody.
Okay, bye. Thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next time.
Yep. Next time. And we've decided to do a bonus episode every month because normally when we record and we share all the stuff we found with each other, we come up with more stuff to talk about, right?
Always.
So we'll have a bonus episode. Look for that soon.
Yes.
All right.
I opened up my eyes and you appeared to be standing on a distant hillside calling me. I hastened to your side, although my heart is full of fear. I reached for you and then you disappeared. Hallucinations, they are driving me insane. Hallucinations, something's pounding in my brain. Girl, I can't believe that you don't care. Everywhere I go, I see you standing there. And every night I lie to a